Great. So very warm welcome to all of you to the South-South Teacher Research Conference. It's a great idea. This is part of the International Festival of Teacher Research in ELT 2021. I'm Richard Smith from Warwick University, and Asla Saylam from which university are you at, Asla? Sorry.
I'm from Özyeğin University, Istanbul, Turkey.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
You're all welcome.
So we're behind the scenes, but really this event has been suggested and being led by Eric Ekembe in Cameroon. Hi, Eric. Good to see you.
Thank you very much, Richard. I'm pleased to be here. And hi, everyone.
And also by Marisol Guzman over there in Mexico. Hello, Marisol.
Hello, Richard. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Really great idea to have a South-South Teacher Research Conference. And it's being supported by the IATA for Research SIG, and Ernesto Vargas is here from the Research SIG. Do you want to just say hi, Ernesto?
Hi, Richard. Hi, everyone. It's an honor to be here.
So thanks very much for supporting this event. So I'm just going to hand over to Marisol and to Eric to introduce the event and to kick off with the presentations, and later we'll have a panel discussion. So over to you.
Thanks very much, Richard. Hi, everyone. We are happy we're all here to kickstart this event. South-South Teacher Research. Problems, possibilities, value, and sustainability. This is what we'll be discussing this afternoon. The greatest expectations here would be for us to go organically and try to learn from what presenters are sharing, and then maybe link that with experts' knowledge and teacher research, and then see how we chart the way forward as far as teacher research is concerned. We are having participants from Sierra Leone, from Democratic Republic of Congo, from Cameroon, and Nigeria, and Mexico. I'm expecting many more from especially the South, the Global South, to participate, because these are areas where you would find a lot of issues related to teacher research. And why? Because most of these teachers live in isolation with very minimal support from institutions. So I think this is an occasion for us to find out what is happening, understand it, acknowledge it, and see where we go from here as far as teacher research is concerned. I would like Marisol, with whom we are co-hosting, to lead the presenters and maybe say one or two things about teacher research from the Southern Hemisphere. It's important for us to acknowledge the contribution of Ashley, Richard Smith, Ernesto, who have been very, very instrumental in putting things together this afternoon. We will be saying this later on, but I think it's important for us to start right now. Marisol, are you ready to take over, please?
Yes, Eric, thank you very much. Well, as Eric said, thank you very much. For us, it's very important to have a look to teacher research, because it's an aspect that improves our everyday lives in the South Globe and in the entire world. But we consider that it's important to have a look and see what is happening, how research is being doing, what are the aspects we need to consider and pay attention to, and talking about possibilities and value. And that's why, well, here in Mexico this morning, there this afternoon, and wherever you are, we will start listening to some colleagues talking about their research.
Lillian, are you ready?
Yes, Doc, I'm right here.
Very good. And we've been expecting you to start the day with the presentation from a Camelta research group. Are you happy to start, please?
Okay.
Great.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Nyonga Lillian, English language teacher, GBHS Akono. So I'll present my teacher research. It is entitled Maximizing the Use of English Language in Classroom Interaction before I begin, I want to, with a research problem, my students always interact in their mother tongue and French during my lessons, and attempts at causing them to try to speak English has always failed. I find this sometimes frustrating because they don't progress despite all the efforts and the time I put in. And this made me, for this reason, I asked myself the following questions. What strategies can I use to maximize my learners' use of English during my lessons? And I also asked myself, what other variables can I use to get my students to participate actively during my lessons? And for that, in order to find out what hinders my students from participating actively during my lessons, I decided to design some interview questions. And without making it obligatory for the students, I requested them to meet me in one of the classes during break. It was quite impressive to see that most of the students were present. I had about 90% of the students present. And I explained to them the reason for the discussion and presented them the questions. These are some of the questions I presented. I asked them, well, why do students not participate during lessons? The second question, why do students prefer to respond to questions in French instead of English? And the third question, why would they suggest I do to maximize the use of English during lessons? So with that, I presented the questions, the students answered. I made it for them to answer. I made it possible for them to answer in any language of their choice. Some answered in French and some of them answered in English. So I made it in the form of an interview. So in the interview, they answered the questions, and while they were answering, I took down notes. I also presented it like a kind of group discussion. So the students discussed, and I took down notes so that I could work on it. And when I got home, I decided to group their suggestions under the following themes. The first one I had was that I realized that students face comprehension problems. Some of them told me that they find it difficult to understand all the words and expressions I use during the lessons. And when they don't understand, they can't participate. They can't even answer questions. So I quote some of their responses. One said, I don't usually understand all what the teacher says in class unless someone translates to French, or when the teacher uses gestures and pictures. Another response, she said, I don't usually understand when teacher uses unfamiliar words. He said, these comprehension problems seem to be the major barrier to classroom interaction. I also got environmental problems. You know, considering the fact that I teach in a rural Francophone village, students don't get to hear English spoken in the environment. When they go to shops, they go to the market, they go to churches, all what they hear is French. So that makes it very difficult for them to be able to get English out of the classroom. And next, we have background problems. We have the students equally, being from the rural background, they don't get to communicate effectively and in English. And considering the fact that we have just 3 hours of English language per week, students only learn and speak English in class, and out of the classroom, they don't have the opportunity to speak English. So that makes it difficult for them to acquire the language and use it to become proficient learners. And another source of hindrance for the students is anxiety problems. They have anxiety problems in that they feel embarrassed, some feel ashamed, intimidated when speaking English. Because they are used to speaking French and their mother tongue with their friends in the quarter, even on campus. So when they feel like, when they speak English, some of them are shy and they cannot really express themselves effectively. Another student also says one of the reasons why she doesn't speak English during lessons is that she's afraid to make mistakes. And when she makes mistakes, the others get to laugh at her, and that she finds it very, very embarrassing. And with gathering all of this, I decided, or they equally went further to suggest some strategies. I asked them to suggest some strategies that can be used to change or to maximize their use of English. The first thing they told me about is the use of real objects. That if real objects are used in class, for example, if I want to teach a lesson on house utensils, probably I bring a cook spoon, I bring some spoons, I bring some plates, that will facilitate their comprehension. Then they talked about pictures. That in case I'm teaching, let's say, a descriptive composition, I bring a city, the most beautiful city I've ever seen. That if I bring a picture of a beautiful city and they get to describe, they see the pictures, it will facilitate their description of the various houses or the various features that they will see. Then another thing is the idea of students being the ones to appoint the next speakers to speak in class. For example, we call up a student to answer a question. And when the student speaks, you ask them that go and you be the one to appoint the next speaker. She'll go and appoint the next speaker or give the chalk to the next speaker. The next speaker will now talk in class. This, I saw it to really be encouraging because it makes all the students to be alert, knowing that at any time they could be called up to answer a question. And that equally makes the class to be lively, interesting, because they are always afraid to see that who will be called up next.
Lillian, I'm sorry, can you
Yes,
just move to the last topic and then tell us what you found out so
okay.
we can
All
call
right,
the next
lastly,
participant.
motivation through words. I equally realize that when students are motivated through words, for example, you say, good girl, excellent, that's good. That will make them to equally be encouraged to speak. So I tried this in my class, though it was towards the end of the year. I tried this and I realized that that participation in class really improved considerably. Students were now able to talk. They felt encouraged to talk, and they also felt free, and most of them were no longer ashamed to speak during lessons. And that made even the less proficient learners to climb up, at least to be participating and to become more proficient.
Okay, Lilia, thank you very much. I think we have overpassed the time. Thank you, very interesting. And this is an excellent way to motivate our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, Nestor is Weka. If please, Nestor, we can continue with your presentation, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Nestor from DRC. Well, and hi to everyone. I'm sorry I entered a bit late because I had traffic jam when I was going to the place. I had to participate to the conference. Anyway, I'm here. Well, I'm going to talk about the research I did because, you know, I am a teacher of English as a second language in the DRC, in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I happen to make a classroom research. It is a small-scale research that I experienced from my own school and from my own pupils that I teach at secondary school. Well, the topic for the research and the presentation I'm going to do is, I'm sorry, I can't share the screen. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's talk.
Anyway,
We are afraid we're not going to give you more than 5 minutes. Can you try to use can you try to use less than 5 minutes? If you can't share your screen, you can talk and we'll be able to follow you.
Yes.
Okay.
Just please keep an eye on time. I will indicate you, yes, when we must stop. Please, Nestor.
Okay, thank you. Well, I won't investigated into pupils' inability to communicate in the English language, particularly their passiveness during English classes and anxiety. What is the problem? Because the problem is that I happen to notice that my students during English classes were becoming passive and anxious. And apart from that, during the English lessons, they wanted every time to resort from a different language, which is apart from English, French, Kiswahili, their local languages. So in a classroom context, although I try to find strategies to discourage the use of L1s in an English class, to encourage the use of English, students, I was not successful. Students always try to resort to their L1, French, and some official languages in the country. Well, I tried to take time to investigate into that matter, and I was hypothesizing that probably students could not like the English language, although they are sixth form students. That was my hypothesis, but I couldn't find it as a conclusion without making a research on what causes their passiveness. Well, I made a methodology to find what was the problem, to come up with some results. The methodology, I did the interview. I interviewed my students, I talked to them, and I submitted them to a questionnaire that was completed anonymously. And when I tried to analyze the results, I came up to the results, which are the following. My students did not dislike the English language, but the problem was that the strategies I was using, and this probably may be common to teachers in my country. That's why I wanted to talk about my country. You know, it is a plurilingual country, multilingual country, where so many languages are spoken, local languages, more than 242 languages. So it is a multilingual
yes, Nestor,
country.
you have two more minutes, please.
Okay, thank you. So it is a multilingual country where teachers try to discourage the use of L1s in a classroom, but students don't happen to observe this. There is a conflict between the foreign language English which is taught and the students' local languages. So, and apart from that, the students were bored with the strategies I was trying to use, as I wanted to impose them only English in the classroom. For example, when I say, well, I don't understand your language. A student who wants to react in the classroom in a different language apart from English, I say, I'm sorry, I don't understand your language. And the student stops, he sits down immediately. And from the time I say, I don't understand your language, I will speak English, try to speak in English, he sits down and immediately the learning process is blocked. So some of the strategies teachers use in a multilingual classroom hinder the learning of the foreign language. So I think in a multilingual country like DRC, where we have multilingual classes, we need to check the strategies we use to discourage the use of L1 in the classroom context, because if they are not well checked, they will bother the students and bring them to anxiety. Apart from that, I noticed that probably I was using a wrong methodology to teach English to those students who speak so many languages with different linguistic backgrounds, linguistic diversities. So I should find another strategy. probably to resort to translanguaging techniques. As they advised me, they could say everywhere time, please, teacher, you never speak some French. You'll never accept to speak some Kiswahili. My former teacher could not speak this language. I noticed that students want sometimes teachers to resort to their local languages to teach English as a foreign language, probably by resorting to translanguaging techniques. That was the findings that I came up.
Okay, thank you very much, Nestor. As Eric said, maybe later we can continue because this is very interesting, how to motivate our students in the classroom to have this problem with multilingualism. Okay, thank you. Please to all our presenters, let's try to tie to our presentations to 5 minutes, and then we'll have more time to discuss all together. Please. Okay, let's continue with Sara Merino. She is a professor from Mexico. And well, without more, Sara, let's continue, please.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So I'm Sara Merino from Mexico. I will try to show you what I'm doing in my doctorate research. That is kind of this support of developing digital competence at university level. But I think this issue is related to not just university level students, it's to everyone, especially today. Thanks to the pandemic, we have been involved of using a lot of technological, internet and many devices. So based on that, I did a kind of summary of the background we have. For example, the use of the technology is not really old. The internet started at the 60s, in the 60s in the US, this from the federal program. Then we start from the UNESCO. They introduced the use of technology in 1995, so it is not really long time. And then the European Commission called something that is the digital competence. I will focus on digital competence because it's not just using technology to teach or to learn. We need to focus on these digital competences and how we use them as a teacher, but also how we help our students to use the technology to learn. It's not just having a smartphone, and just because I have a smartphone, I know how to use technology. And not just because I have access to internet, I know how to use the internet to learn and take advantage of all these websites and all these variety of sources that we can use for learning. I think we need to be very conscious as a teacher that we need to improve our own digital competence and also help our students to use in a very critical and the useful way of using the internet, not just surf looking for any kind of information. We know that we need to be very, very clear in the way we use searchers, digital libraries, and there are many things that we can get very truthful information. The UNESCO in 2019, they start using, or they introduced digital competence as a very important part of tools in the language or in teaching in general. And then I will talk to you about this model called Tpack. I don't know if you know this model. This model is for having three things, that is the pedagogical, the content, and the technology together to have this knowledge to start using technology in a very appropriate way to teach using technology. And then I will recommend you, and I will use for my research, the DigComp Edu. This is framework that you can use. They have a very proof relevant validate instruments where you and your students can go and do a very open test, and you can measure your your digital competence, the same as we have done with the language, that we have A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2 for language. This instrument measures your digital competence. So you can go, and it's free, and you can do it in English and in Spanish, and I think French too. And you can just do the test, and at the end, they give you the score of the digital competence you have. So I will apply this instrument with my students at university, and I will see what is the what is the digital competence they have at university level. Because what is the problem? That we talk about, or we talk a lot about the use of the technology, but we don't really know what is the level of this digital competence of our students. So that's the idea. I really recommend you as a teacher to use this instrument to measure you, because we know probably that you have a C1 in English or French, but what about digital competences? So in general, this is my research. So I think I'm on time. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Sara. Very interesting. And as you mentioned, now in these pandemic times, well, the use of technologies has been very important for us as language teachers, and well, all around education. Thank you very much. Let's continue with Ernestine Ayoni from Camelta team. Ernestine, could you tell me if you are ready, please? Of course,
I'm ready, madam.
Thank you very much. Could you share your screen, and remember, we'll have a look on time, please, for participating more or less on the planned time we have. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am called Ernestine Ayoni, a teacher in Lycée Bilingue de Obala in Yaoundé. I teach English language and literature in English. I would like to share my screen. Okay, the title of my work is Challenges in the Implementation of an Interactive and Collaborative Group Work and Classroom Discussion in a Bicultural Classroom. My classroom is made up of students from both Anglophone and Francophone background. Group work and classroom discussion is one of the major activities I carry out in my classroom. During group work and classroom discussion, I observe that some of my students do not interact or participate in group work and classroom discussion. They often appear to be less interested. This often makes me to feel frustrated, since I am aware of the importance of these classroom activities. Thus, this prompted me to reflect on the following questions. Why do my learners not collaborate and interact with their peers or classmates during group work and classroom discussion? How do they feel working in groups? What strategy can I use to optimize participation during group work and classroom discussion? To exploit this question, I set as objective classroom discussion. I set as objective to find out the reason for lack of an interactive spirit by learners, to investigate learners' opinion about working in groups, to find out strategies to improve participation and interaction during group work and classroom discussion. Based on this objective, as methodology to answer this question, I use participants. My participants were from 25 from 4 students and lower 6 students, especially the Francophone students of my school. I use questionnaires that comprises of open-ended questions and closed-ended questions. I also use group discussion. We selected, that's purposeful selected group of students. Okay, as concerns my results, I discovered from the student after the group discussion and from the questionnaires, the response they gave me, these are my results. 86.36% of my learners asserted that they do not feel comfortable working with their peers. And 82% of my learners indicated that they lack the necessary English vocabulary, though they can speak fluently in English language. That came especially from the Francophones. Again, 90% of these learners, my learners, pointed out that they lack self-confidence and often feel incompetence during group work and classroom discussion. 73% of my learners declared that they are afraid of negative and unproductive feedback from their mates, while 86% confirmed that they do not contribute during group work or classroom discussion because of fear of making mistakes. And the last 83% of my learners affirmed that they face criticism from their classmates. For example, a student said during our group, our face-to-face discussion, that the mate always push them to sit down. So that make them to feel very uncomfortable participating in group work. Okay. As for the findings, after giving the questionnaires and analyzing the questionnaires, this is what I found out. Interactive group work and classroom discussion can be developed by teaching my learners to be self-confident and to take mistake as an opportunity to learn. This is because most of them feel that they don't have that confidence to express themselves. Not that they don't know how to do it, but because that confidence is not there, and the fear too of making mistakes. What I also discover is this, that positive feedback builds positive mindset. If the students are given positive feedback, and that will boost their morals to always take part in classroom discussion. Again, what I also found out is that making students to believe in each other's ability promotes an interactive group work and classroom discussion. We have to build in our learners the idea of oneness. They should know that unity is strength, that if they come together, they are going to produce better results and is going to promote the teaching learning process. Okay, as a challenge, I had difficulties when I had to bring together the students for group discussion, face-to-face group discussion, since I had to combine both lower seat and Form 4 students. As my plan of action, I intend to create lessons, especially through reading comprehension, dramatization, to create the spirit of awareness of the spirit of oneness in students, to build self-confidence and to make them to know that mistake is not something that should limit them not to interact with others, but they should take.
Very, very interesting, Ernestine. I think we are on the time.
Take mistake as a stepping stone to learn. What I plan to do also is to, after I must have taught all this lesson, I'll save evaluative questionnaires to see if there is change. Thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Ernestine. Very interesting research. Those aspects are always are in the classroom, and we need to cope with them. Thank you very much, Ernestine. Well, let's continue, please. Sorry for the time. We are and we have many participants. Alpha Barry, could you tell us if you are ready, please, to continue with your presentation? Alpha?
I found maybe having technical issues. Since I found Lovetta available, she's with Rama. Maybe we find out if she's happy to
Yeah,
make a presentation now.
that's right. Lovita, are you there? She's actually in Sierra Leone, but she's using my link, the one that I registered at. So I hope she's there.
Lovetta?
Yeah, because I've sent a text indicating challenges, technical challenges.
Again,
getting in. Joseph, is there any way you can find out check with Alpha if he's available? I've sent you a text on WhatsApp, but I've not had anything. Yeah.
We can continue.
Network is a challenge, she says. Lovetta.
Okay.
Network is a challenge. I can show her PPT if you people like. Is that a good idea?
Maybe, Rama, maybe we move on with the other presenters who are available and then come back to that.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So our next presenter is Professor Vicky Arisa from Mexico. Vicky, could you tell us if you are ready with your presentation, please?
Yes, I'm ready.
Please, if you want to
Okay,
that's perfect.
Thanks. Let me share my screen.
Yes, just have a look on the time, please.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. And this is a really nice session and interesting talks. So today I'm going to talk about my research, which is about writing in English language, configuration of writing in higher education. So basically is how students are learning to write. And this is how it all started, with a meme. So it was interesting to me to see how students posted frequently on our Facebook page of the school. And they look at the faces, they're struggling. And they say, writing is not the problem. The problem is that I don't make any progress. So I was really interested to see what was going on behind this apparently suffering from students. So I started doing some research in writing, and I guess one of the problems or the reasons why they struggle so much is because of the many theoretical influences to write in Latin America. So there are many views. There are linguistics, psychology, didactics, academic literacy, rhetoric, and composition. This is not the problem because, you know, from different fields, we are trying to learn what writing entails. The problem is that writing studies in Latin America is an emerging field. We are still trying to manage to describe what writing entails. And if we teachers do not know what writing entails, and if researchers do not agree which is the best approach or methodology to teach, of course, that creates a tension with students because they feel lost when they have to write a thesis because of the many voices and influences or ideas about writing. So what I did in order to try to understand more this thesis writing problem, I work with systemic functional linguistics as an explicit theory of language that helps me to understand the ways in which theses are composed linguistically. But still, linguistics, sometimes it's hard for students. So legitimation code theory helped me to address that issue because that offers a means to explore knowledge practices in a wide range of institutional, disciplinary, and social contexts and make them visible. And in that sense, students can get a better idea of what writing entails and do something about it. So what I did was studying a corpus of theses from 2010 to 2016. And this is what I got. Just to give you an idea, the highest part of the way means abstract writing, complex ideas, complex writing. And the lower points of these waves are related to the concrete experience, to examples or ideas from students. So it was interesting to see that over the years, there is a pattern. It's a low flat wave, which means that these semantic waves in this study reveal a relatively stable field, but this is an indicator of little or no change. That means that in the area of English language teaching, students tend to write mainly from the experience and from the concrete experience. That is what is valued in this context. So this framework, systemic functional linguistics and legitimation code theory, allowed to make visible these codes, and probably if we know that the code is the experience, we can help students to access other types of knowledges, more abstract, and reach a wider understanding of the principles of academic writing in English language teaching. So that's basically what I have done, and thank you very much.
Many thanks, Vicky. Very interesting, because writing is sometimes an issue, and writing a thesis as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's continue with Agatha Hoverson. If you are ready, please, could you tell us? Robertson?
Yes, Joyce Robertson there with you.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Joseph. We would like to hear from Robertson.
Hello.
Yeah, he's joining.
Okay, just one big favor, please keep an eye on the time. And we're a little bit back from the plan because we have just another presenter. So could you?
Hello?
Yes, Robertson.
Hello?
Hello.
Robertson, can you hear me?
Yes, Robertson.
Thank you very much. I'm Robertson Atumisi Wagata from DRC. Hello?
Yes, you can start, Robertson. You have 5 minutes, please, for sharing your.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Let's carry on.
I'm a teacher of English at secondary school and at a vocational center where I teach adult students. And at secondary school, I teach the teen students. My topic of research is warm-up activities, effectiveness for the teen and adult students in case of the large classes. I don't know if I can try to share my screen.
That's fine. That's fine, Robertson.
Yes, sure.
Let me try to share my screen. Let me try to share my screen. Can you see something?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Is it okay?
No, but you can tell us please about your research. Manuel.
Okay, so I was saying that my research topic is warming up activities, effectiveness in large classrooms for teen and adult students. You know, for the research purpose, I tried to set some questions like the effectiveness of using warm-up activities in large classrooms is the part of my activity as a teacher at secondary school, and how this effectiveness can be seen when I'm teaching the adult student at the vocational center. The other issue I try to see of is the value and the role of strategies applicable to motivate learners and prepare them for better learning. For this, I trust to see the importance of starting a class with a warm-up activities in promoting interests among students, or set a friendly environment during the lessons. Because when I was trying to see the difference between how my lesson is being conducted at secondary school, where I deal with teen students, and when I come to teach the adult students and see the difference of how students are engaged in my activities, I see that there is a problem of implementing the warm-up activities. And what are the features that I can use for both the classes? What can be fit for adult students and for the teen students? The interest, it was to know whether and how often warm-up activities are used, especially from first to fourth level classes. The problem, my problem statement is, as a teacher of secondary school and a trainer teacher at a vocational center, I noticed that many problems when using warm-up activities in my classes with secondary school teachers, students, especially in large classes of 45 to 60 students. And when I come to the adult students, they are not too many, but the way the same warm-up activities react on them. The particular attention was dragged on how to make warm-up activities effective in large classrooms and see what principal feature of warm-up activity that can fit for the teen student and for the adult student. Most of the time in the large classes, for example, when warm-up activities were turned off into noises, when I introduce my lesson, trying to implement a warm-up activities for the large classes, students would rather continue with my warm-up activities like a song instead of continuing with the lesson. So this sometimes was puzzling me. Another issue is that I used to proceed by song and the game to warm up my class at secondary school. And the place of being motivated, my students could wish I continue teaching them songs, although it was not a lesson. With other students, I noticed that this kind of learner at vocational centers, they would also show another different attitude when I motivate them using songs. They could not even be really engaged. By the time I tried to use body shaking movements, this could help the adult students. That's why I tried to put myself some of the questions as follows. What feature of warming up activities will be effective for the large classes of teen students? And what features of warming up activities is effective with adult learners? And how to make a warming up activity effective in both classes? How much time shall I take, or how much time shall I devote to warm up these two different kind of classes? Is it possible to use a first language to make students be motivated and engaged to the lesson? Or are all the warming up activities in the same way acting or reacting positively to the student? What are the activity frequently used by my peer teachers? Because what the problem I was facing in my own classes, I will have to see them in the classes of my peer teachers.
Okay, Robertson, I think, I'm afraid, well, we are just on time. Don't worry, I've seen a question that is referred to your topic, and we come back in a minute for you to comment us your results, because of course, warm-ups are ways to engage our students too. Sorry, but we need to continue with I'm not sure if Lovetta is finally ready. Doctor,
I don't think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
So
Yes,
I
we
don't
can
see
hear you.
Alpha or Lovetta. I'm just now asking them, are you there, kind of thing. So I don't know if people would like. Oh, Alpha, not Alpha Kamara. Not Alpha.
Alpha is trying to come on.
No,
yes,
but
Alpha
no, that is not the same Alpha. Alpha Barry.
Oh, okay. I thought you mean Alpha. I like Alpha.
No. Alpha Barry, who is a teacher. Now, this Al-Haji Alpha is a mentor. But there is also Aruna Sese. Is he around? Aruna?
Yes.
Yeah,
Aruna Sese?
Yeah, Aruna joined in.
Is he there? He can speak about his two teachers. No, I don't see him anyway. So it's a pity, Aruna Sese. It's okay. So either we skip that, or I can very briefly, in say 2 or 3 minutes, maybe tell you all what they did. What would you like? Yeah.
That's
okay.
Fine.
Okay. I just want to show you one screen, which probably I can use, which is Lovetta's. She would have spoken about this. You can sort of look at it yourselves. This is about training pupils to read effectively. She's a school teacher. She's in a secondary school in Port Loko in Sierra Leone. And the background is that her junior secondary schools too, the second year pupils couldn't read effectively. So she, asked these questions, how can I improve that? And what can I do to get them to read better? And she used these sources of evidence. One of the main things was feedback from pupils themselves. And also she reflected on it. And then here you will see photographs of discussing with colleagues, Lovetta discussing with colleagues. And then here you see she's discussing with her students. This is Lovetta, whom we have not been able to interact with today. And what she found was pupils have difficulty in identifying and pronouncing words well. And they couldn't read, therefore. And they had difficulty in spelling and couldn't observe punctuations while reading aloud or even while reading silently. And why? So these were the specific numbers of students who couldn't identify sounds for the maximum. They couldn't pronounce words properly, couldn't observe punctuations, and had difficulty in spelling. And then she took some action, as it were. She changed her method of teaching. She taught sounds to help them pronounce better, because that was the root cause of the problem. And then she did a lot of dictation of spellings so that they could get some kind of a hold on the spellings. And then she adopted skimming and scanning techniques to teach reading. And after that, she noticed a good number enjoyed the lesson and participated. So her learning was that teaching is, significant when it's child-centered, because she was asking students what exactly their problem was. And then activities make learning easier and then can reduce teachers' workload. She varied the methodology, which she wouldn't have done if she hadn't asked her pupils. So she's suggesting that this work made a number of teachers to become optimistic in our classroom activities. We changed our stereotype minds and have become critical thinkers and solution providers for our classroom. So she is very optimistic about how she can bring about changes in the classroom, especially when she starts getting their views of why things are not going right. So this is her study. Love it. I wish she was there.
Thank you very much, Rama. It sounds like it was a collaborative research.
Yeah, very much. She worked with her students and with her colleagues in the school. So they all came together to understand what the problem was. So that way it was very collaborative. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to stop sharing if you want me to just say in 2 sentences what Alpha did, his research was actually in a math classroom. He found that they were not interested in mathematics and there was no deep understanding of anything. So he got very concerned. And then he found out that he needed to, introduce activities where they could actually do things. So he's saying that, learning by doing is what you need to do. And they started showing interest. This in brief is his study. And I would like to sort of suggest that his study has got a lot of relevance to English classes as well. Why aren't students interested in English? Is it because they don't know English that they're quiet? Or is it that the teacher cannot sort of reach out so that they understand the teacher? So it's only when you ask them that they actually tell you what you can do to help them. So that way he was quite a success, and he's very pleased that, he made a dent in what he was trying to do. And that's the kind of lesson he has for other teachers as well. Yeah, that's Alpha Barry. That's it from me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Yeah, Marisa, you can continue, please.
Well, basically, these were our presentations today. We want to thank all the participants. All research is always important in order to improve our practice, to reflect on our actions. And as we said, and we have the purpose today, to see the value, the purpose, and of course, the sustainability of research in our settings. So Eric, we can continue with the panel discussion or any questions. I have, a question here. Rabu Ranjit from Nepal asked that he is teaching English at secondary level in a public school, and he's supporting 500 students. And his query is, how can we plan lessons for different types of learners? I think this question was, well, I don't know if...
Maybe we allow participants to share their experience before we comment on that. Is anyone here who has that experience teaching very large classes of more than 100, 200 students? And I'm sure Rabu's issue is a problem of differentiated instruction. And you want to find out how you can manage different abilities in the classroom and be able to get the classroom evolving, at the same time taking care of the different proficiency of learners you have in the classroom.
Yes.
Yeah, I think if no one is happy to answer that, I can make a suggestion. I think the primary idea would be to find out, first of all, understand the different abilities, the different proficiency levels, and then design lessons in a way that you go slowly so you are able to take care of the different abilities. Because if you have a common target for everyone and you go at the pace of the faster learners, you're not going to manage the slow learners. So the idea would be to be able to, first of all, try to find out the variation in the abilities and then see what kind of lessons or what kind of tasks may be appropriate to different proficiency levels. If not, you find a problem of managing that class. Let's be a little more practical here. If you ask students, if you design a task for, let's say, for example, at the dentist, the kind of group task you give for low proficiency learners may not be the same kind of task you give for high proficiency learners. In another sense, you may want to bring the low proficiency learners to work together with the high proficiency learners in a task, so in a collaborative endeavor, in a way that the high proficiency learners support the low proficiency learners. I think generally these are some of the tips which you may want to use. It's normal that we're not going to give you a comprehensive response to your question. Another way to find out is to get into teacher research.
Yes, I think Rabu wanted to share his experience, but
so
well,
Marisol, I think maybe we can give some 5 to 7 minutes for questions and answers. If anyone has got a question to the presenters, question related to the background, how they did the research, and how innovative their suggestions and findings are, we can handle that while we allow the panelists to start putting their notes together. It's also very important for us to indicate here that the participation from Sierra Leone, we have Yusuf, who was very, very instrumental in putting the participants from Sierra Leone together. And actually, he's been mentoring teachers in Sierra Leone. We also have Joseph Kaleba from the Democratic Republic of Congo, who has been mentoring the teachers who made their presentation here. So we want to give 5 minutes for questions and answer to the presenters, and then allow the panelists to put their notes together, to put their ideas together. So the floor is open, please.
Well, Marta Hernandez asked what's the name of the website to measure digital literacy. Unfortunately, Sara has to teach at this hour, but well, the answer is already there in the chat. Is this Campu Edu?
Yes, yeah, okay, fine. Rabu wants to share his experience. Rabu, I'm afraid we are not going to have you talk to us for more than 3 minutes. If you can do that in 2 minutes, we'll be very happy, please.
Rabu, could you unmute your microphone, please?
Yes. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes.
I think rest of the people who are not speaking should mute their microphone for audio clarity. Okay, so I'll just share my experience in brief. I'm teaching in a rural school which is nearly 60 kilometers far away from the valley. And the situation over there is in a classroom, there are more than 100 students, and the facilities in the classroom is not that well equipped as well. So my challenge is some students are very, very fast forward, and some are very backward in grabbing our content. So they struggle, and they have problems with even tracing English alphabet. So now they are upgrading and they're developing their skills, but at the very beginning it was very terrible situation, and right now they're improving. But still, what my question is and where I'm stuck is how to address them, even though I have divided them into separate categories and have been conducting separate classes for them in order to ensure that they are learning properly, and whatever the content that I'm delivering to them, they're grabbing it. But still, I'm not being successful. I don't know why. And what risk I'm seeing here and what challenges I'm facing is high self-esteem students who are categorized and who are doing pretty well in their studies are in like section A, and they are very happy with it because they feel like they are getting good partners to study with. But on the other side, those who are categorized in a low group, or let's say those who are not excelling, their self-esteem is getting very poor. Like their mindset has become like teacher has put us in this category because we are struggling with the study, that we could not perform well, and their confidence is lagging behind. So that's the situation. I'm trying my best to ensure that I equally treat them all, but from their side, they think that I'm not treating them equally. And that's how my English teaching experience is going on. And I'm trying to figure out how to handle this situation. And I believe that ultimately I'll achieve it. I'll achieve my target. Because everything I'm doing right now, like dividing the classes and treating the students according to their needs, it's because I want 100% pass results from them. And I think according to the classroom assessment, I'm achieving it as well. I'm not sure whether they will be able to perform at the same level in their final exam, but right now their performance is improving, but still their mindset has not changed yet. Sometimes they burst because of that anger that teacher has categorized us into middle class group or lower class group. So they saw that anger in the classroom as well. But regarding their performance in the classroom, they are improving as well, because of that anger, and they want to get shifted to the A class group as well. But sometimes I really feel difficult to manage my lesson plans, because I need to prepare different lessons plans for them and different assessments for them, and I'm doing it all differently. So I think if I could get an idea to cater all of their needs at once, like Eric sir said, common point or common lesson plan for them, if that's possible, or if I could get that idea, it would be very helpful for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rabu. Thank you. We'll be happy to know how you're managing this subsequently. I hope we may find a way of connecting with one another, so we share these views subsequently. It should be the kind of thing we want to build up from this conference. So, Joseph, did you have a question you want to ask? We have 1 more minute to get into the final discussion, and I hope Ernesto, Francis, Rama is here already.
Yes.
And the others are all available, right?
Yes, Juan Rafael and Paula are here too.
Fantastic. So, Joseph, what was your question, please?
Thank you very much, Eric. I am Joseph Kaleba from DRC. My question is addressed to the presenter from Cameroon, Madam Lillian. Can I ask it? Is it the time to ask the question, or I can ask?
Yeah, that's fine.
Wait for...
Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Madam Lillian presented fantastic work, and I really appreciated it. At the level of finding, she said use of real objects, pictures, motivation as a solution to the problem she came across. Now, my question is, how long has she been teaching? And before finding this strategy to use real objects and pictures and motivation, what are visual aids she used to use in her classroom? And if she was using pictures, how could it be again the finding among the results she presented? I don't know if this makes sense.
Yes, Joseph. If I understood her, maybe she'll have to answer that question herself. What she was kind of saying is, when she got the results, the comments from the students, she now tried implementing their suggestions in the classroom, and then found a change in attitude or in classroom participation. If I understood her very well. So I don't know if that was your worry. It's Lillian here. Lillian, can you take your bullet? Yes, can you take your bullet, please?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. At least that shows that you followed up my presentation. Yeah, as I was saying, with the findings, it's like, when you get to a class, the strategy you use in a particular class might be different from the approach you use in another. Remember, this is a what we call here a terminal class. That's like the highest grade in the secondary school. And here, what I did was at first I used to look at it like using pictures in that kind of a high level class was, I use pictures mostly for the CZM classes, that's for the lower grade classes. So I didn't really think it would be a good source of learning for those in the higher class. But from their words, from what they told me after the interview questions, I realized that they too need it. They too want to learn using those pictures. But now the difference is the level of the pictures. This one will be like used for maybe description, Another something else, not just like little things that is just to motivate students to speak. This one will actually help them give like a deeper presentation of the lesson. That's I use that like for a deeper presentation of my lesson. And to answer your question, yes, I've been teaching for about eight years.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm afraid we're not going to have any more questions. We'll move into the panel discussion. The topic for the panel discussion is possibilities, value, and sustainability of teacher research. Initially, we didn't want it to look like prepared notes or planned activity. We thought that it would make sense if this discussion builds from the presentations which we have listened to. But that doesn't mean we're limiting every discussion to the presentations. We will allow it to go border wide and get refreshing ideas on ways through which we can increase the possibilities for teachers to get involved in teacher research and understand the value of it and render it sustainable in their different contexts. We don't know the challenges they have in different contexts. And for this, we are having Joan Rafael from Mexton, Paula Rob Bellado from Research, Ernesto Vegas, who is a sick big man. We call that in Cameroon, big man, a sick big man. And we have Rama from Delhi University, Rama Matthew from Delhi University, retired, and Francis Merino, Peace Corps, Cameroon. Please, we would encourage you to take 1 minute or 30 seconds to tell us what you do and what you think about teacher research before you get into the topic, possibilities, values, and sustainability of teacher research. We don't have any particular order for talking, but we would give, in the order we find in the posters, each participant something like 5 minutes, and then we move on to the next participant. Thank you very much. Is Rafael right here with us, please?
Okay, you want to start with me? Greetings from Mexico. I'm really happy to see the work of different presenters, different researchers. I have some keywords that you guys presented: communication, interaction, collaboration. It was very interesting and innovative for me. Someone talking about warm-ups, the way you start classes. And something that is very important, I think nobody mentioned, but it's gonna be mentioned by the other experts here, something about self-confidence. It's really important now, the social emotional condition of teachers and students, both. And well, other words were about semantics, literacy, and the way of a technology instrument that can improve classroom practice. And well, I'm really happy because I saw the work, some of you presented good results, which is very important. And sometimes the research and work on research education is difficult, or sometimes looks like a challenge. But the good thing is that you do research and there is classroom improvement. And then, well, it caught my attention, especially Ernestine's work with the results she presented. There is a problem with students' self-confidence. There is a problem with classroom interaction, and it is sometimes obvious. Technology sometimes is a very good instrument, but sometimes makes human behavior or human interaction more difficult. This is what I can say in general, and congratulations to you all.
Thank you very much, Rafael. We would encourage participants to note their questions, so we allow them some time to ask the questions to the panelists. They're all here for that. So we move straight away to Paula Rob Bellado, who in 2019 was the plenary speaker of the IFTFL. Paula We're happy to have you here. I'm happy to see you again.
Happy to see you, Eric. Hello, everybody. So many familiar faces. It was very interesting to listen to all the presentations, especially to see the variety in terms of topics and general understandings. And it is in understanding where I would like to stress some key notions that I think are important to consider. It's when I was listening to many of the presentations, there were words in the presentations, especially near the end, talking about the things that different presenters discovered. And even though, and I agree with my other panelists, with other panelists about the importance of classroom practice, of the improvement of classroom practice, and in general of any kind of improvement in learning, from the presentations, what I get is a sense of greater understanding. So even though possibly the results were not that significant, or they were minor, or it's too soon to say whether there is anything is changing at the level of learning, what I was able to understand in many presentations was this idea of I became aware of something. Now I know something that I didn't know before. I began to understand my students differently, or I got information that I didn't have before. And I think that's very valuable. Sometimes a lot of attention is placed on the solution of the problem. A lot of attention is placed on the improvement of the teaching, but actually, because practice and change takes time, I think that initial change in understanding, or that those new understandings that we get from teacher research, is what are going to allow later all these teacher researchers to be able to then enter the phase of changing classroom practice or improvement of learning. So I was paying a lot of attention of impact from the point of view of cognitions, understandings, thinking, the way now you see your students, the way you see yourself and you see your teaching. So if at any point there is any time for any of the presenters to talk a little bit more about where they think the main impact was in terms of thinking, understanding, or practice, in case that was the main objective, that would be very interesting.
Thank you very much, Paolo. I see issues of teacher identity, awareness and identity coming in here.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. Please. We'll allow the presenters to take notes, and then we'll come back. Maybe you have to answer the questions. That's why you're here, this panel, please. Thank you very much. So Ernesto is the coordinator of the IHL Research Special Interest Group. So that's why I call him a big man, because I'm working with him on that. So Ernesto, you're welcome, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. First of all, can you hear me well?
Yeah, yes. Sure.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to recognize Dr. Marisol Guzman and Dr. Eric Kembe, both distinguished members of the Research Committee, for this extraordinary and quite frankly much needed initiative, particularly in terms of the perspective under which it is organized, that is a South-South perspective or a Global South perspective. I say this because, as we have just confirmed by the poster presentations that presided this panel, teachers' practices and teacher research approaches are very much alive in the Global South. And there is a lot that we can share and learn among ourselves, and a lot that we can showcase to the world at large from this perspective, the Global South perspective. So congratulations to Marisol and Eric for organizing this, gathering us together today. The Research SIG is honored to support this event. As we have seen in the presentation today, teacher research, or in some cases, exploratory action research, presents itself as an alternative for democratizing academia, and particularly research in ELT. It also is an alternative for empowering teachers and students, and also for teachers to democratize their classroom. I was particularly impressed by Nuyonga's research piece about on maximizing use of language in classroom interaction, particularly for the way she produced data, allowing students to express their genuine voice by the group discussion that she organized by taking notes of side comments and also by her willingness to understand a student's background. I was also impressed by Nestor's giving voice to questions to their own students about his own practice. So I am very impressed by all presentations, but I would like to know if our participants are willing to go back on their research and take it a little bit further and potentially contextualize it precisely within our Global South context, addressing what some people call the elephant in the room, that is precarity and potential in our context by understanding further top-down pedagogies and also by the awareness of certain assumptions that are in the classroom and also beyond the classroom. But I would like to leave it there. And in general, thank you very much. And I'm just looking forward to hearing our participants again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ernesto. Thank you very much. We are happy with the idea of getting participants to address the elephant in the room, and because it gives us the opportunity to find out which part of the elephant is the most cumbersome and which is the most accessible from the various contexts. Thank you very much for that. We would like to listen to Rama Matthew, retired professor from the University of New Delhi.
Thank you very much.
Rama,
yeah,
great.
Thanks a lot. To start with, I would like to congratulate you and Marisol and everybody else involved in this whole webinar. It's been a wonderful sort of coming together of different kinds of people from different countries and cultures and so on. It's a pity that teachers and some mentors are here, but then the ones we planned for, just because the other mentors had presented something at some other point, couldn't be here. But then, in fact, Lovetta has raised a very interesting question. Before I go on, I just would like to read the question from my WhatsApp message. She says, I've never encountered things so interesting in my teaching profession compared to classroom research. My question is, how would it be sustainable in Sierra Leone, looking at the many challenges faced during the process? So this is, we understand, and many people, I think, appreciate that there is a big challenge in continuing this kind of a thing, especially when it's located, teacher research initiative is located within a funded project. But then, now we can see that these many teachers, 100, 200 of them, working with about 28, 30 mentors, they're all sort of, they have all realized, like Paula said, at the cost of overemphasis, I would like to just say that again. They have discovered that they need to understand their learners and that learners learn in different ways. Like the lady from Nepal said, how can I make a kind of a standardized, approach or pedagogy for all the 150 or 80 or whatever? No, that's not probably the approach. Here they are trying to see how each learner has his or her own way of learning, her own preferences. And then when you ask them, they tell you. And you try to, cater for that. And then you see learning begins to happen. So teachers have understood that, okay, learners, they've also tried to demystify or define the loaded terms like learner-centered teaching. It doesn't mean what I understand by that, but what they have understood is learner-centered teaching means asking them how they would like to learn and then appropriately make your changes. So I see a lot of small gains, small changes happening in Sierra Leone classrooms, and that's the way forward, I think. And the second thing I would like to underline is these teachers are already sort of, empowered, in the sense they have understood that the colleagues and learners and themselves have to come together and then find solutions to the variety of problems that there are. So now I hope that in each of these schools where teacher researchers came from, at least, they will extend it to other teachers and they'll all work together. So it's almost like school-based professional development, if you like. So there's a lot of scope, even if you don't, even if the ministry doesn't sort of take it up at a national level, or even if the Teaching Service Commission doesn't take it up. But then I have a lot of hope in these teachers in that they can take it forward. If there is time later on or now, there are 3 mentors who did excellent work, especially during COVID. In fact, with very challenging situations like no smartphones or no connectivity, they've managed to sort of keep their heads, keep themselves afloat and completed the project. And there's also a book that was published with reports of these teachers. I'll give you the link here. It's available online. So I don't know, but Eric, do we have time?
Great. You will have time to share this more. Thank you very much for
all right.
underlining the work that's being done in Sierra Leone.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Yeah.
We would like to listen to Francis. Francis is the Peace Corps Education Training Manager for American Peace Corps in Cameroon. So I'd like to hear him. Is Francis here with us?
Yes, Eric, I'm here. I was on the highway, but I was following everything effectively. Great. And I am really thankful to be in this meeting, and I'm impressed with the variety of the researches that we have discussed, and the variety of the factors that have been considered in the different researches. The interesting thing is how the various problems encountered by the teachers in the classes are not viewed as problems, but they view them with a kind of solution mind, problem solving. They approach them in terms of problem solving. This is helping us, this teacher research, helping us to move away from the teacher being viewed, especially in some of our countries, as people who are always complaining and asking for increase in salary. But as I was listening through, I found that a key aspect mentioned was collaboration with colleagues who are also English teachers, as well as getting the opinion, the ideas of the students to count. And as I was reflecting during the presentations, I was thinking that it is important getting the ideas from students, but sometimes students will not understand exactly what is going wrong with them. For example, students who haven't had a complete cycle of literacy will be struggling to read and write. And sometimes you need to be a technician to know what kind of things of fluency you need to do, or what kind of sentence patterns you need to build, but it's important to discuss with them. So one of the things that marked me, especially during this conference, that I would want to encourage is using a multi-factor approach in terms of doing this classroom research for practicing teachers. For example, you can sample students, but also you can discuss with fellow teachers who will be able to bring other ideas that can be explored. You find that many things move from linguistics to socio-emotional, cultural, and sometimes you need a blend of many factors in order to really pinpoint where you can build on improving student proficiency, improving their interaction, improving the language learning, as well as even you, the teacher, sometimes you need to borrow from other disciplines.
Okay. So
I was keen.
Maybe we'll allow. Okay.
Yes, just 1 minute. I conclude that maybe 30 seconds. Somebody mentioned other subjects, like the mathematics experience. I think it's in Sierra Leone. And I wanted to add that in Cameroon, we did find so many problems with teachers of different disciplines who were affected by the illiteracy of students in secondary school, which means in classes where they were expected to be already literate. And one of the approach we use is to help teachers integrate sentence patterns that capture the jargon of the specific discipline and teach them intentionally for students to be able to understand the English that is spoken per subject. I'll leave it here.
Thank you very much, Francis. Sorry. Thank you very much for bringing this other approach, this other orientation to teacher research. Now, I have got one question for the panelists before I allow the participants to ask these questions. You are here, all knowledgeable in teacher research. Now, one thing that I find in the global south is isolation. The teacher researchers, they don't have institutional support, and most of what they do in the classroom is not recognized. So there is that word, they live in a world of isolation. Two, a good number of them are trained through the transmission model and with content that sometimes doesn't link with the practical classroom experiences. When you what I saw, noticed, what I observed from this presentation, the various presentations here, was evidence of transformation. Teachers being able to take active responsibility of what is necessary and what is responsive in the classroom, which might not necessarily be the result of training or some institutionalized knowledge. Now, the question is, they are still going to be living in isolation. And we all know teacher research empowers them, as was said here. What are the potentials for this being a movement, permit me call it a movement, in the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years? Anyone can take the floor. That's a question for the panelists, please.
Can I just attempt an answer from Sierra Leone perspective?
Yep.
As I said, this, whatever we did, some 220 teachers doing this kind of thing was part of a timed funded project. And the project has ended now with 4 regional conferences because we couldn't hold one national conference in Sierra Leone, forget about international conference. And we have also produced a book with about 50 reports that were sort of, edited and that were found good enough. So I think since you are talking about 2, 3, 5 or whatever years, I hope that this COVID situation doesn't continue, and therefore we also want to come together. In fact, even this webinar, whoever is able to hear from Sierra Leone is saying it's excellent. They would like to know that other teachers are doing this kind of thing, but then it will be so much more easy to come together face to face. So if they can go to Cameroon, or Cameroon teachers can come over to Sierra Leone, and we slowly enlarge or expand this outreach and so on, I think that's a lot of support, a lot of acknowledgement about what teachers have done and what they can do. They share. I think sharing and collaboration is so important. So if they can collaborate with Cameroon teachers or from Mexican teachers and so on, there's so much, things are so similar and yet different. I think their perspective will change. So you need to get out of your classroom mentality that it's my classroom, I need to go on finding solutions here. You will find solutions when you start talking to other teachers, just like they did on the teacher research project. Anyway, I won't go on and on, but that's what I feel. You need more outreach.
Sharing and collaboration, fantastic.
Yep.
And, so it breaks isolation.
Mm-hmm.
So you are not alone.
Yes, exactly.
So would anyone want to say something in line with the question that we are all reacting to this, from any angle, from any perspective?
Yes, Francis.
Yes, Francis.
I would like to say that there is a lot of value in teacher research, in what is being done. So the problem is not overstating the importance of what is being done now. The problem is In fact, in most of our countries, teacher research or research by teachers is a key element of their professional development and growth. And now, with most countries adapting new approaches, moving towards learner-centered approaches, we will have to include some kind of, I would say, advocacy in terms of seeing how to come together, like the professor who spoke before me talked about the collaboration, both at national and international level, but at the same time, seeing whether we can include an advocacy plan which brings our ministries, our institutions to institutionalize. I think that if in the case of Cameroon, I am sure that if you look at the new teacher status, it states about research clearly in terms of teacher development. I think that is there. So even though the implementation is not there, we have some kind of frameworks, legal statutory frameworks that we can use, but we need to build in some advocacy while we are working, so that when we take the work that we are doing, like this one now, we can be able to do conferences at national level, conferences at international level, and be able to see what other plans we can implement to bring the stakeholders, especially the ministry and other key stakeholders, to buy into this, so that this becomes part of the culture, our teaching culture in the various countries.
Thank you very much. Thank you for underscoring. Thank you for underscoring advocacy issues in teacher research. Just to remind everyone that Richard has sent a link, a teacher research Facebook link, through which teachers interested in teacher research can get connected with one another. Richard, thank you very much for sharing this. It's very timely because the issues came up. So is anyone happy to react to the question, please? We got some questions from, I got a question from Joseph. Maybe we'll hear from you before we allow Joseph to answer to ask his question. Okay, if you don't have anything to say, is Joseph available, please?
Thank you, Eric. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you 5 and 5.
Thank you once more for granting me the floor. I'm building my questions on both panelists, that's Ernesto and Paula. From my understanding, they both gave possibilities or other ways for further research. When Ernesto suggested the presenter if they could go back to their classrooms and continue with this research and find some other angles that they could see how to continue with the same topic, but in the framework of IEEE, as if I got him right. And I related it to the presentation of Lovetta from Sierra Leone, who after presenting the finding, she took actions. And this is related to the continuous professional development for teachers, where when they have a problem, they research on it, and after that, they find results. And these findings lead them to plan once more so that they can go back to their classroom and try this finding. They implement it, and they can again come back to search on it if it works or if it didn't work. So if it worked, they can continue with the practice. If it didn't work, they can find other possibilities. And this is one of the ways that Ernesto gave as a possibility for further research. Coming back to Paula who really made a kind of summary of the understanding of all the presentations. Like most of the presenters could now say, now I can understand my class differently. Now I can view my learners differently. And this can also give another possibility for finding other problems that can affect the teaching and one can take an idea to investigate on a different topic. And now my question, as far as the sustainability of the research in the classroom is concerned, is which of the ways could make research sustainable? The first one is you investigate on effectiveness of a kind of activity in the classroom. You find a solution. You find strategies, new strategies. You go back to your classroom, you plan and you implement, and you research again. Maybe monotony can make it maybe discussing for your students. The finding that you got today, if you keep implementing them, it will be monotonous. Is it possible to look into different angles for the same topic? Can this make the research sustainable?
Yes, yes, Joseph, you have 10 seconds to wrap up your question.
I've just put my question. Which of the ways, either the one suggested by Ernesto, coming back to the same research in the classroom and continuing it, or that Paula suggested that you have now a different understanding of your learners and your class, and you can find different topics to research on. Which one can make research in the classroom sustainable? And I think the question can be open to all the panelists, starting
Yes, that's fine. Thank you very much.
And Paula.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Paula, happy to shed some light on this.
Eric and everybody, an apology because Paula had to leave. She had an urgent issue. So maybe Professor Rama can support us with this question, please.
Yes, Rama, in 1 minute, can you handle that? We have to stop this meeting in the next 9 minutes, and Richard will be coming in to wrap up the discussion, please.
All right,
so,
but
Rama,
I would
1 minute.
like Joseph to just give me in a nutshell, or in one sentence, the main issue that he was talking about. I got a bit, confused about the many things that he was talking about. Is that possible?
May I say a word?
Yeah, just in one sentence.
Just one sentence.
Thank you. I found two ways for possibilities of further researches when I was following the panelists. The first one is sticking to one issue in the classroom, researching on it, finding results, and planning and implementing again, and trying to see if it works. And again, this is one way. Another way is having a broad understanding, broad but clear understanding of your classroom and your students. You can also ascertain other further problems on which you can wish also to research. Now, I was asking which of these two kind of research can make research sustainable? Sticking to one point, or investigating on different issues because you are now aware.
Yeah, thank you very much,
Joseph. I got it. I got it. I would say depends. I know it's not a very easy answer, or an easy, what do you call it? It's a convenient answer in the sense there are times when the teacher has to focus very deeply on one small issue. In fact, in Sierra Leone, there were, let's say, 10 students who kept coming late to class, and the teacher was really concerned about why they were coming late. But then, having focused on that small issue, they found that there are umpteen problems that these students are facing, and they started unearthing that. That itself is research. Trying to find out what different kinds of problems students are facing is also research. So I would put a lot of emphasis on being research-oriented, research-minded. And then, of course, like a scientist, you can look through the microscope to find out what they can do about it. So I would say there is scope for both, being sort of broad-minded, or in the sense looking at wider issues, and also focusing on very small issues in the classroom, minute, mini issues that the teacher can research into. So I would say the teachers will have to sort of decide at a given time what she would like to do and why. There are reasons why she would like to focus on this more broad-based kind of an issue rather than mini issue. So I would say both.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, Ines Miller from Brazil got a question, please.
Yeah.
Can you just one sentence?
Yes, one sentence. How about, hi everybody, thank you very much for this wonderful event. But my question is, has anybody in this group tried involving the learners, really going a bit beyond beyond questionnaires, beyond getting the information from them, and involving them in becoming more aware themselves, because I believe they are aware of what is going on, but getting opportunities to share and discuss what they're understanding along with the teacher.
Thank you very much.
Question. Quick question, but probably not leading to a quick answer.
Thank you very much.
If I may, I would like to ask Alpha or Yusuf, who are mentors to researchers, to answer this question. They have a good understanding of the question that you asked. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Alhaji Alpha, I want to speak on this. I want to answer that question.
Yes, very quickly, Alpha.
Yeah, so it's a very good question. Really, in order to solve the classroom problem, I think the learners are very much important, are key to it. Because in the learning process, you want to improve on something or you want to solve a situation. So the learners also need to get involved in order for you to know as to what is what is affecting them. And perhaps they can help you with some useful ideas that you can use in solving the situation. So the learners are key in solving the classroom situation, especially the research we have concluded. Good number of the issues we are given by the learners. The learners were able to tell the teachers that you are the problem, we are not the problem. And I think the learners are very much important in finding out.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
One of the major principles of learner autonomy is to allow learners sometimes to make informed decisions on what they want to learn and how they want to learn it. And that could also be a fantastic way of getting learners involved in this. I think at this point, we would like to invite Professor Richard Smith to tell us what he thinks about what he thinks from what is observed so far, and what he thinks concerning the topic of the panel discussion. Is Richard here, please?
Are we? So Eric and Marisol, thank you very much. Are we going to end now with this, or?
I think we should be. We are almost 2 hours into the conference, and we should be ending so participants can go do other things.
I'm just checking because Eric asked me to bring things to a close, and I kind of feel like you talked about first of all, fantastic, as many of you have said, that we have a South-South conference, and it's kind of rare, maybe unique, to have this kind of conference, especially. I haven't come across this, and I think it's a fantastic initiative from Eric and from Marisol, and supported by Research SIG, but very much coming, really fantastic to hear just south to south voices for you. I mean, I'm just here listening. I feel kind of like I'm. You mentioned elephant in the room, so I feel maybe I'm the elephant in the room because I'm from the global north, and of course that is big elephant, isn't it? And maybe I'm part of it, but I feel more like, actually, I hope you think of me more like a kind of monkey in the tree, kind of going from. I like to bring people together, and maybe this is what we're doing here. We're bringing people who have not come together so much, like in a South-South dialogue. It's been fantastic, and many of you have said how interesting it's been. But I would say that over the last year, really, we've seen a lot of activity from Africa in the field of teacher research, and which we hadn't been aware of before. I think, in many cases there have things been going on around the world that have not been brought together. I mean, Rama is here, and in India she's been very active in India and in Bangladesh, elsewhere, for many years. but it's coming together now. She's been working in Sierra Leone, for example. We also have Ines, and I'm really happy that Ines and Bebel are here from Brazil, because of course they've been working for many years in Brazil with exploratory practice. But what we're seeing here, Ines, I'm sure you agree with me, this has been a fantastic occasion to come together across
Wonderful,
continents, across the South. Would you like to? Did you? Yeah, I mean, I think you agree with me, Ines.
Yeah, I do, and I think we need more and more. It's the first time I'm really sort of face to face with Rama, whom I've read and heard so much about. It's a great pleasure. But with everybody else, of course, and you and Paula and everybody. Yeah.
Well, I've had the great pleasure and privilege to work with Paula as well in Latin America, with Champion Teachers, and then with Rama in India, and Amol Padwad in India, and
I was there in Chile.
Yes, and then so there have been these projects going on, all these things which have been going on recently in countries of the Global South. And one thing I also would like to emphasize is that we've shown, I think, in our different places that teacher research can be relevant. Not just it can be relevant, it can be very useful and practical for teachers in quite ordinary classrooms, difficult, maybe large classes sometimes, difficult circumstances. And that's something that's been clearer and clearer, I think, over the last few years. And we've heard that from the great presentations today, and how practical and useful it's been. And I think I agree with Paula that understanding has been clear, that you've been understanding better the situations. But I just want to say that we are together here, and we are together in something called the Festival of International Festival of Teacher Research in ELT. I've just put a link into the chat, because you'll see that we heard from teachers in Sierra Leone before. We heard from the teachers in Brazil, in Rio. So if any of you were not aware that we have had these events, there's a link there, and you can go and watch the video and hear more. Because I think I just want to say, what could you do now? What could you do from now, if you're interested? If you got interested here, and we're trying to emphasize teachers around the world in Global South context. But as I said, this is the first time to have a South-to-South dialogue. But I would also like to. I put a link earlier about the Teachers Research Facebook group, because that's another place that we can stay together. We can keep together. I'll just put it in the link again. Something I collaborated with Rama on for many years actually was TelkNet, and some of you have raised issues about teaching in large classes, teaching in low resource contexts, which you might find some useful resources on that website as well. I'll just put these into the chat. But anyway, I don't want to talk, but it's true that classroom problems are similar in different contexts around the world. I heard issues of motivation, involvement, group work, the use of students' language, and these are issues which come up in Latin America, they come up in South Asia, and we hear coming up in Africa as well, and also the surrounding problems of teachers and teaching in the Global South countries, which obviously are all different countries, but there are similar problems. Traffic jams delaying you to come here, and maybe to delaying you to get to your classes. Some of you had to go on to your next jobs, and of course you're very busy and economically challenged in many cases. Connectivity, we had some issues, but I think it went very smoothly overall. But of course these are issues for mentoring, they're issues for teachers, and we share large class issues, etc. But these problems, of course, are not generally recognized in global North research, and maybe that's the elephant in the room, that a lot of what you are talking about is not really addressed by Global North, or you get lots of inappropriate ideas coming from outside. So what we see here is beginnings of understanding from your perspectives, and developing awareness of teachers that they have agency, and I think that's a key word here, that teachers are developing agency. So we see the great value of sharing together across contexts today, and we've heard of sustainable kinds of teacher research. Just emphasize, we need to think what kinds of teacher research are going to be sustainable, and we've heard that. And I just suggest that as a way forward, to keep sustaining teacher research, which has been an issue in the panel discussion. That mentoring, not only through projects, because projects, as we know, as Ramo has said, they end, but we have good examples of, like, the exploratory practice group in Rio. Eric is developing a lot of things with teachers in Cameroon, I know. Groups, networks, teacher associations, networks like the ones I've mentioned. These are ways that we can continue and sustain this movement, I think Eric, you called it. And that mentoring, teachers who've done teacher research can become mentors for other teachers if they've found the value. I think that is something we've seen over the last few years. That's why there is a kind of sense of things spreading. So I encourage all of you teachers who feel you have got value from the experience of teacher research to maybe introduce it to other teachers, and that's, you can form your own groups, you can form your own networks, and let's all stay in touch together. So that's my words, Eric, and Marisol. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, presenters, very much. And thank you for organising it. Do you want to say a final word, Eric and Marisol, please?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much, Richard. Marisol, you want to say a word before we close the meeting?
Yes, of course. Well, many thanks to everybody to make this possible. I think it is a necessity we all have from our context. Different circumstances, different scenarios, but a common goal that is improving, that is feeling satisfied with our everyday activities and research. It's a fantastic way to put together our efforts, to comment, to collaborate, to be aware, to empower ourselves, and, as Ines mentioned, our students too, because they are the reason for our work. So many thanks for this presence, for your participation. This is fantastic. And we are more than pleased for this event. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Marisol. We're very happy that we had presentations from Lilian Nyonga, Commercial Research Group, Nestor from Congo, DR Congo, and Hubertson from DR Congo, Sara Merino from Mexico, and Vicky, Arisa from Mexico, and Estina Yoni from Cameroon. And we are very grateful for sharing your research projects. I'm sure you have more further inspiration to carry on teacher research and maybe mentor your own group, as Richard just said. We also want to acknowledge the facilitation we received from Joseph Kaleba from Congo. We had to link with him to put the teachers together. Yusuf from Sierra Leone, and of course Marisol, who did fantastic work putting the posters and connecting the teachers from the South. We are especially very grateful to Professor Richard Smith, who suggested that we make this a festival event. Initially, we thought it could be a SIG event, a research special interest group event that he suggested, and I'm happy that it went this way. We are also very grateful to Ashley for putting the digital technologies in place and making things work for us. I think if she did a fantastic job. If not, we would not have this conference right now. And above all, the panelists, you were marvelous. You did a fantastic job, and I'm sure that you will feel the impact of what you've done when we come back here again to talk about teacher research, and you'll find that many more teachers are coming on board, hopefully sometime soon. So thank everyone. We want to thank everyone for participating. We don't yet have a clear roadmap of what we are doing next, but we can assure you we are going to work out things to put the ideas that have been suggested here together and maybe come up with a greater event, hopefully with many more countries represented. Thank you all for participating. By this, we would want to close the meeting. It's taking more than 2 hours. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.